Welcome to Freedom Flicker, where we dive into the issues shaping our world. Today, we're tackling a controversial and timely topic. The Trump administration's Department of Justice reportedly considering policies that could restrict transgender Americans' right to own firearms, citing mental health concerns. This issue sits at the intersection of Second Amendment rights, transgender rights, and mental health debates. Is this a legitimate public safety measure? Or is it discrimination disguised as policy? Let's break it down with facts, context, and perspectives from all sides. To understand this proposal, we need to look at the broader context. Since taking office, President Donald Trump has issued executive orders targeting transgender rights, including banning transgender individuals from serving in the military and ordering federal prisons to house transgender inmates based on their gender assigned at birth. At the same time, Trump has positioned himself as a staunch defender of Second Amendment rights, with Attorney General Pam Bondi emphasizing the protection of gun ownership for law-abiding citizens. So, why is the DOJ now considering restrictions on transgender gun ownership? The catalyst appears to be a recent mass shooting at a Minneapolis Catholic church, allegedly committed by a transgender individual. This tragedy has fueled debates about mental health, gun violence, and transgender identity. According to sources, the Department of Justice, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, is exploring ways to limit transgender Americans' right to possess firearms. The proposal hinges on the classification of gender dysphoria, a condition listed in the American Psychiatric Association's DSM-5 as a mental disorder, as a basis for deeming transgender individuals mentally ill and thus unfit to own guns. The DOJ is reportedly considering using its rulemaking authority, similar to how it justified barring transgender individuals from military service. One official stated the goal is to ensure that mentally ill individuals suffering from gender dysphoria are unable to obtain firearms while they are unstable and unwell. However, another DOJ official cautioned that such a policy could face significant legal challenges, as federal law requires a judge to declare someone mentally defective before stripping their Second Amendment rights. This proposal comes in the wake of the Minneapolis shooting, where a 23-year-old transgender woman, Robin Westman, allegedly killed 2 children and injured others. Some conservative voices have pointed to this and other incidents, like the 2023 Nashville school shooting, to argue that transgender individuals pose a unique risk. But is there evidence to support this claim, or is it a reaction to isolated events? Gender dysphoria is defined as the psychological distress some people feel when their gender identity doesn't align with their sex assigned at birth. It's listed in the DSM-5, but here's the key. Gender incongruence itself isn't a mental disorder. Only the significant distress associated with it is. Critics argue that labeling all transgender people as mentally ill oversimplifies a complex issue and ignores the fact that many transgender individuals live stable, healthy lives with proper support, such as gender-affirming care. In fact, studies show that transgender people are 4 times more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. The DOJ's focus on mental health also raises broader questions. Millions of Americans manage mental health conditions without posing a threat. Why single out transgender individuals? Legally, restricting gun ownership based on transgender identity is a tough sell. Federal law requires a judicial determination that an individual is mentally defective or has been committed to a mental institution before their Second Amendment rights can be revoked. Blanket bans based on a group's identity, without individual assessment, could violate constitutional protections, including the Second Amendment and equal protection under the law. The DOJ's own officials admit this proposal could face significant court challenges. Ethically, groups like GLAAD argue that this policy scapegoats a vulnerable population. Transgender individuals, who make up less than 2% of the U.S. population, are already at higher risk of discrimination and violence. Is this proposal about public safety, or is it part of a broader political agenda? The proposal has sparked intense reactions. Conservative figures argue it's a common-sense measure to address gun violence, pointing to incidents like the Minneapolis and Nashville shootings. Meanwhile, LGBTQ plus advocates like GLAAD call it discriminatory, accusing the administration of using transgender people as scapegoats. Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar criticized efforts to highlight the Minneapolis shooter's transgender identity, urging focus on broader gun control measures instead. On platforms like Reddit, discussions in communities like r/LGBT show outrage, with users calling for action to protect transgender rights. What do these reactions tell us about the state of America's culture wars? The DOJ's proposal to restrict transgender gun ownership is a lightning rod for debate, touching on Second Amendment rights, mental health stigma, and transgender equality. While some see it as a public safety measure, others view it as discrimination that could set a dangerous precedent. What's clear is that this issue demands a deeper conversation, one that balances safety, rights, and fairness. What do you think? Should mental health policies apply broadly, or is this proposal unfairly targeting a marginalized group? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more deep dives into the issues that matter. Let's keep the conversation going.